So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be using TradingView here for today's video. Again, completely free to use. And I'm going to be using ticker symbol SPY, the SPY ETF, which is down 0.36% so far today, okay? So again, we're going to be using this stock here for today's video. So let's get right into this. So the concept is that you can use support and resistance levels to identify price points on a chart where probabilities favor a pause or reversal of a prevailing trend, okay? And so let's take a look here at a couple of examples. So let me zoom out a little bit here and let me kind of squish this a little bit here. So here's what I'm going to do first. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to plot a horizontal line. So I'm going to go in here and click on horizontal line. I'm going to plot a horizontal line at around this level right here, okay? Now, what do we see here happening at that line that I just went ahead and plotted here? We see a couple of things, right? We see over here that price came down, it hit this level, bounced back up. Over here, we see that price came down, hit this level, bounced back up. Over here again, hit this level, bounced back up. So what is support? Support occurs where a downtrend is expected to pause due to a concentration of demand. So it paused here, the downtrend paused here because there was a lot of demand and it bounced back up. Same thing here. Bounced back up, bounced back up. And so there are a few characteristics here that make a support level a really good support level, okay? Now, the first thing you always want to check for is, was there a huge swing from that price level? So here, notice that when it hit this level, it made a pretty big bounce up, right? It made a pretty big swing here. Same thing over here. When it hit this, it made a pretty big swing. Over here, same thing. When it hit this, made a really huge swing to the upside. This is a good support level because of that. Other things, you need to see how many times did it touch that level. The more touches you get, the better a support level that is. We got one touch here, there's even a touch here, there's a touch here, there's a touch here, right? And eventually over here, it broke it. So again, the more touches you can get, the better. The other thing, and this is a very key thing to understand, guys, and this is going to work for both support and resistance. What do we see happened after it breaks the support? It broke the support, came down, bounced back, and where did it bounce back to? It bounced back to that support level, and then from there, it dropped back down. So what happened here? This previous support level became a new resistance level. And that's what you're going to see a lot of the times. When a support level gets broken, that old support will generally become the new resistance. And for resistance, it's the same thing. When a resistance level gets broken, that resistance level will generally become the new support for that stock, okay? So let's go ahead and let's move on to resistance now. So let me draw another line here and let me go ahead and click on horizontal line again. Let me draw a line right around, let's do like right here, okay? So what do we see again happening here multiple times? We see that it came up to this level, it hit it, bounced back down, right? And it was a pretty nice swing. Again, characteristics that you want to look for. Again, it came back up, touched that level, and then again, a pretty big swing here down. Same thing, came back up, hit it, again, another big swing down, right? And then over here, it broke, but then it came back down, tried to go back up, and again, it hit it, bounced off, and again, a huge swing down. So again, we see pretty big swings once it hit this level. We see it touch multiple times, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. And as you can see, this would be an example of a resistance. Again, this is where an uptrend is expected to pause temporarily due to a concentration of supply. And so again, as you can see, these levels should just jump out right at you, right? Like you can see these almost immediately upon seeing this chart here, okay? Now let's go ahead and let's draw out some more lines. So for example, we take a look here around this area, 450 you know, from like 452-ish to 450 like 8-ish, right? We see multiple different touches here, but it looks like we could actually make this look a little bit neater without having to use a line. And so what people sometimes use is they go over here and they'll go ahead and they'll use a rectangle here and instead create a zone rather than a line, okay? So what this would look like is it would look something like this, where you want to try to get as many of these touches as possible. Now you don't want to make this too wide here, but something like this, okay? And so what do we see here, right? We see over here, it hit this level, which was at this point resistance. It hit it, came back down, pretty big swing down, it broke it. So then this became the new support level. So over here, when it hit this resistance level and it bounced off, it came to around this zone, the support zone. And then here, since this was support now, it bounced back up, came back down, hit support, again bounced back up. And then eventually, right, it broke through that. And then what do we see happen? It broke through the support, and like I mentioned earlier, when it does that, that generally becomes new resistance, which it did here, right? Because then it came back up, it hit this new resistance level, bounced back up. Over here, it did the same thing, and then it bounced back up, okay? And so as you can see, right, there are multiple different examples here that we are taking a look at. In fact, right now, we're at a pretty nice support level. If I draw another line here, horizontal line, right, where we're currently at right now, around this $390 level here, as you can see, right, over here, this was support, which it bounced off of, and then it came back up, and then it came back down, it broke it, and now it's serving as the new resistance. So we're trying to break through this old level of support, which became the new resistance now, okay? And so that is support and resistance there. Now, one thing I want to mention here that I don't think a lot of people mention is that support and resistance are not just horizontal lines. There are also diagonal support and resistance levels. And so the way these work is you use trend lines. And the way you use trend lines is by connecting 3 lows in an uptrend or 3 highs in a downtrend. So if we go back here, right, to last year, you know, we were in an uptrend, right? How do we know we were in an uptrend? Because we kept making higher highs, higher lows, right? Higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, so on and so forth. So we were in an uptrend. And so if we connect at least 3 lows here of this uptrend, we'll see that we will see a level of support. So if we go over here, and let's say I draw, let's draw an extended line here. And so let's say I go to this level, let's see, right here. Say I go right here and I draw a line here like so, something like this, right? What do we see here? Let me zoom out a little bit more so that's easier for you guys to see. So again, this is a trend line, right? We are basically connecting at least three lows here. There's more than 3 in an uptrend here. So what do we see? It hit here, it bounced off. Came back here, hit here, bounced off. We go forward, hit here, bounced off. Came back here, hit here, bounced off. Hit here, bounced off. Eventually, it broke through that. And what happened when it broke through this diagonal support? As you can see, it did a huge drop here. So support and resistance are not just horizontal lines. They're also diagonal lines here that serve as support and resistance, as you guys can see here, right? Now, if you were doing a downtrend, right, if you're looking at a downtrend, you would want to connect at least 3 highs in a downtrend. Over here, we connected 3 lows, more than 3 lows, right? Again, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or so. So anyways, again, always keep in mind, you can also draw diagonal levels of support and resistance, okay? And so how can we potentially use this information? So generally speaking, right, traders will try and use support and resistance along with other indicators, which I will have to make separate videos on, to potentially enter or exit a trade, right? So for example, right, if we take a look here, something that could potentially, a trader could potentially do, right, is we see here, right, this is a level of resistance. So what generally people do is, they wait and see, does it, is the stock approaching that area? So they might potentially wait and see for the stock to, head back up to this level. And then potentially, again, most of the time they're going to be using other indicators, right? But potentially at this point, let's say it gets to here, you might say, okay, well, it's going to bounce off of this level again. And so what you'll see people do is they will go ahead and they will, let me see here, let me draw a line. So they will potentially enter a short position around this level and then add a stop loss right above it in case it does break that level, right? Because you always want to have stop losses here. They'll set a stop loss right above it. So they'll try to get into a short position around here because, again, this is acting as resistance, and then set their stop loss right above it in case it breaks it. And then let's say it bounces back down here, right? Potentially what they're going to be looking for is, setting your price targets back down here, using the previous support levels that you find down here, right? So if we have support down here, this could be potentially a price target that you use if, again, the stock makes a bounce back down here. So that's potentially the concept here of how you would use support and resistance. But again, just understanding how to draw these lines is a pretty big game changer, okay? So if you guys have any questions about anything I just talked about, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Check out the Discord, a link to it in the description below. Hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys next time.